The main issue that a lot of games have, especially with new DMs, is that the players lose interest. They can love the world, love their characters, and even like the way the Dungeon Master runs their sessions, but the table can still go quiet. If you're the DM, don't blame yourself if people pull out their phones. But here's a few tips to make that happen less. The first thing you need to know about players is that they care about their characters more than anything. You might notice, at the end of a good session, they'll boast about the cool stuff that their character did. Because that's where their mind's at, and we can't change that. We shouldn't try to. We have to work with it. What you should do before the game is work with them during character creation. Make sure you know who they're making, what they want to do during the adventure, what abilities they like the most, and what their backstory is. If they made a cool backstory, they're going to walk into that session with the same feeling of pride that you want them to have after the game. It's also important to know their origins so you can have them already affect your game. Never write the game before you know the party. This is a golden rule because it gives a feeling of equal importance at the table. As an example, let's say a player is a druid from a jungle. Now, in all origins, there's a tragedy, because no heroes come from a happy family where nothing bad ever happened. So for our druid, let's say his jungle was sieged by an army of undead, and his clan was scattered. That's all the players need to know, and there's so much to work with there. You can then write other survivors from the attack, what the clan was like, why the army attacked, and who sent them. This gives the players motivation to find out what happened and make it right. It also moves us to my next golden rule. You have to have secrets. Even in a kick down the door style campaign, not knowing what's in the next room is the driving force of every party. I'll be honest, I love keeping secrets, and having an NPC lie to the party turns their world upside down in such a perfect way. But I've made one major mistake that has lost me my players' interest: never giving answers. You can have them hooked on a line and pulled at the speed of light into your amazing world, but if you keep a bag over their head, they won't care forever. But fret not, there's a solution that I have for you. Pulling inspiration from Hemingway's Iceberg Theory, a Gumshoe story structure, and a great model found in the City of Mist rulebook, here's how you unfold your secrets. In the DM's Guide, it has a list of world-shaking events that are good starting points. I'll make my own short adventure as an example. We'll start at the bottom of our iceberg and pick the world changer. I'm going to go with a rebellion. This is the source of our overarching story and the indirect cause of every event. Then we go right to the top and write what starts the adventure. This is a minor event that really isn't very important to the world, but it is something that has sparked the character's interest. Let's tie it to our druid player, which is a very important thing to do, and make it a series of undead attacks. Then all we have to do is tie the attacks to the rebellion. Depending on the length of your game, or at least this arc, it can be 2 to 15 sessions. View the progression of your story as a series of chains that link together. They want to get from point A to point B and have to ride these chains. Each session will have a scene and a token that leads to the next scene. The most important part of this structure is that token. These are a small pack of answers that lead to more questions, and every time they collect a token, you should give them treasure, such as gold or magic items. At the end of the game, all questions should be answered and the party should be fat with gold. So for my story, I'll make a 2-part story and a deeper one. Let's go with 4 parts. For the shorter story, I have to directly connect the revolutions to the undead attacks. I'll make the simple connection that a group of necromancers are revolting against a king who has outlawed their practices. So part 1 will be the party fighting the undead. Maybe a random group has wandered into the area that they're in. Or maybe they've been commissioned to go and stop this rampage. So they have to get into the fight with this undead and find out that there is one necromancer controlling this specific sect. Winning the fight should earn them a token that leads directly to the revolution. Either they question the necromancer or kill him and find his orders on a note. This answers the cause of the attacks, but hints at some sort of greater reason. Then they get his spellbook and a dope wand or something. The information should lead them to the next and last scene, a confrontation between the necromancers and the king. They can pick a side, fight and whatnot, yada yada yada, they play D&D. At the end of this fight, the victor will explain that the necromancers were revolting against the king in order to earn their right to practice their school. Leave the resolution open-ended so the players can affect the game. Never write the ending before the players are involved. They are the story, not you. The king can give them gold and a house or something, and the necromancers can offer a series of magic items. If I were to make this story a little longer, let's say adding those 2 more sessions, I have to space out the encounters and add less information to each token. So let's go back to fight number 1. The druid and their party, let's make them clerics to make motivation easy, defeat the undead. They can find some simple magic weapons and maybe a sack of cash. Instead of a necromancer, they all have an emblem on their skulls. This proves they aren't just random, but organized. It also asks the question, who's in charge? The party then searches a nearby city for information on the emblem, leading them to our friend the necromancer. During this scene, they either question or kill him and find out that he was, or is, a part of a group of other wizards that are planning something. This gives both information and questions and leads them to a third area. They go to the cult and do what they do to get answers. And depending on your party, they're either going to rip these people to shreds or ask a lot of questions. They might even sneak in and steal some sort of information. And in doing so, they learn about a plot to kill the king and when it's going down. And the final encounter is them going to warn the king and fighting the cult leader. There, we have a lengthy game with interesting steps along the way, adventure hooks at the end of each game, and a story that's tied to the party's goals and their past. If they manage to lose interest playing a game that hits all those marks, just fucking have them fight something big and give them a bunch of treasure. And just a few pointers for running the game, it's very, very important not to split the party on purpose. And if you have more than 10 minutes where they aren't able to interact with you or the other players, they're not really playing the game, and they're going to pull out their phones. A common issue that's tough to get past, especially with newer DMs, is confidence. I can't just tell you to be more confident with your game, but one trick to make the game better is committing to ideas. When you narrate combat and describe rooms, stay away from the words maybe and a few. Give numbers, take your time to describe things, and don't try to remember everything. You should never be the one responsible for undoing actions or scenes. Focus more on improv than consistency, and your game will feel a bit more prepared. Railroading is a big issue, and I might make a video sort of trying to solve that issue later. But know that when you have scenes planned, the players want to be a part of it, and they want to affect the outcome. If the outcome is predetermined, the players won't feel like they're playing. They're playing a game, not watching a movie. Oh geez, hi, you made it to the end of the video. You know when you write an essay with the required amount of words, and you finish what you want to say but still have 2 minutes left in your video? Well, I'm gonna cheat and talk to you all about my Patreon. I make a bunch of homebrew items, monsters, subclasses, and races to add to your games. My favorite item so far is Grandmother's Locket, a magic locket that gives helpful and often unwanted advice about coming events and personal hygiene. I've also got a race of aberrations that my marvelous patron Mario Sack drew art for.
You so fucking precious when you smile.
I recently put out a whole new class, the Chef, where your abilities are centered around cooking meals while casters are preparing their spells and then dealing them out during combat. It's all that in a bag of chips for 5 money and helps me buy bags of chips. So thanks to all of you who are supporting me already. I also made a new tier where I'll make 1 to 3 races, subclasses, monsters, or a mix of the lot for only $7. I'd make it 10, but then I'd feel bad. So if you want to support me, go check it out. Please, they're coming to take my couch.